speakers for giving us a short but very informative information about their experiences with the DEP program. Now, the panel discussion is called Accelerate Your Business Through Technology Adoption. But the topic I was given is Bridging Gaps in Technology Adoption. So we talk about a gap, and clearly there's a gap between the creators of the technology. Usually in this context, it is the research institutes or the university, the scientists, the researchers. They do their research, they produce something, and then there's the end user or the companies that is going to take that technology and bring it to the market. And between the two, there's a gap. Sometimes referred to as the valley of death, right? Which gives you an idea of why it is such a difficult issue to bridge this gap. However, we're happy. We've heard good experiences from our speakers. So for the next 20 minutes or so, let's try and focus on addressing these gaps and see what the experiences of the companies represented here can help us and help the rest of you, who I presume will be potential licensees of the technology from the universities or the research institutions. Okay, so a bit of introduction about myself and my background. I've been on different parts of this whole ecosystem. I've been on the research side, producing technologies, trying to license it up to industry. I've been out in industry, trying to get technologies from the research labs. And I've been involved in policy making to encourage research institutes to license their technologies to industry. Right? So hopefully I can understand the different perspectives and the different issues that are involved in each of these roles. Okay, we've heard Winston talk about a very positive experience. The company is in the third year of licensing, and I'm looking forward to more. Right? We heard from Christopher too. That the RIs and the universities, I suppose, is a rich source of technologies which, for an SME, you have much difficulty in trying to develop. Right? So you don't have the resources or the capabilities to do that. But here is the wealth of resources that you can tap on. Willie too has been benefited. His company has benefited from this very novel, interesting application of face recognition in a construction environment where the usual fingerprint and all that do not work. So that's a positive. And finally, Dennis, interestingly, signed an agreement without really evaluating in great detail. So I think that must be discussed in the potential of the technology. Okay, so I think maybe one of the things that probably the audience would like to know are, really, it's a good initiative, as Dennis said, there's lots of technologies. But in dealing with these providers of the IP, what are the major challenges? I think some of them alluded to some. Maybe let's go around and have each of you identify what is, in your experience of dealing with this, what is the major challenge that you have, that you experience? Or in Dennis' case, maybe what is the major challenge that you expect to see dealing with the IP creators?
I think in any business, right, if you want to identify, any technologies, right, you need to know how to frame it in a right perspective. Because the thing is that I always use this thing called domain knowledge. Is that the scientists, they are working in their own labs. We are the business people, or even our engineer, they may not understand, the specific terms they use and all this. So the thing is that one of the challenges we find is that there's many ways to solve a problem, but can we solve it in a cost-effective manner? And that's something that you really have to do checks and evaluation, because there are certain algorithms that work on a small scales, but it doesn't work on the large scales. Or that because your platform, you must understand, that means that your programmer will be trained everything in another platform, and their technology work on something else, and that could be some of the things. So I think if you ask me, right, the first thing is to have a plan. It's a plan that what is your technology roadmap, and from the roadmap, right, where are you trying to achieve, And being open-minded is that, because the thing is that when we do what we wanted to achieve, right, we try to avoid areas that we don't have the core competence. But what I feel is that in the technology roadmap that we did, right, we open up another things that we call being open-minded about. We may not have the capability, but we can solve this thing from somewhere else to solve it. But the important thing I always tell is that if you're running a business, you must know what is your core competence and what is not your core. So unless you manage to get a researcher to come out, if not, most of the technology license, it should be just be add-on to what you are doing. Because I must caution one thing, if you license anything, the technology is as it is. It may not have version 2, may not have version 3. So these are the things, the risks that you take. But for us, we take it is that what we look at is that we look at as that it add on to our products, it differentiate our products in a way that sometimes, we introduce new technology may actually, yes, it changed a bit of technology roadmap, but it helped us to that differentiation, and that differentiation could help you to price your product as a premium. Because in my business, we are doing, it's not a really very differentiated product. We are in the ERP business, CRM, there are many players. So the thing is, how do we differentiate our product? And we use this technology to differentiate our product itself. Yeah, so the key thing is that to have a roadmap, know what you need, basically really list down what is your requirement, and that will help to speed up the whole process. And
okay, so thank you. So you're
yeah.
saying that the challenge you face in this process is really more in your company. That the company
Yes.
itself has to have a roadmap.
Yes.
So that you are able to benefit and accept the technologies to fit into your roadmap.
Yes, and with that, with the roadmap, you can actually provide more detailed specs. And when you give this to a TEP or even research institute, right, it's very much speed up the whole process.
Okay,
You won't have to go too much ding
So
dong.
in a way, it's less of a challenge, but you are advised that if you want to embark on this, you have to make sure that internally you understand your own roadmap so that the match can be made.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, to continue with what Chris has mentioned, is I know my roadmap, and I know it very clearly because mine is very straightforward. It's facial recognition, voice recognition. So we don't face any much problem during the evaluation because I find that the product is fantastic, and I just want to get it commercialized as soon as possible. And my challenge with this TEP program will be the I2R has difficulty in pricing their modules. It means they do not know how much they should charge me. So instead they ask me how much is my product cost. Then from there they want to make a certain percentage. So we are still working on that. So but my main thing is like what Chris has mentioned. Okay, they may not have version 2, version 3, but I want to have version 2 and version 3. And I said that that's where we both have to trust each other, and then we can actually benefit together, and I pass on the profit to you so that you are interested to make into version 2 and version 3. I did mention that to them also. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for me, IP is actually something quite important, especially when it comes to your own company's so-called rice bowl. Yeah. So when working with the RIs, you need to identify that which one are your core modules and which one are theirs. Because in the licensing agreement with them later on, you need to be very specific because sometimes it may intertwine with each other. Yeah. So that part, I think during your negotiation stage with them, you need to be clearly defined as to what is yours and what are theirs. Then it will be more smooth sailing. And then there won't be any ambiguity moving forward to say when you move on to version 2, version 3. Because when it comes to version 2, version 3, again, it could be a different paradigm. So as you know, technology is not static. It's forever changing. So when it comes to version 2, you may be using slightly different technology. So that is where I think this part, knowing what you're doing, as the two other speakers mentioned, is very important. Yeah, and then having a roadmap itself is also important. And then you also have to evaluate internally, do you have the structure to support this roadmap? Yeah, you need to have at least one or two of your key guys to be familiar in what they're doing before you want to embark on this roadmap. Otherwise, later on, when they finish their product, hand over back to you, then you will be stuck because you will have problem integrating. Yeah. So I think this part you need to take note. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite the same as,
What was? Can you repeat the question? I'm not
No,
completely
the
sure.
challenge
I'm
is,
lost it.
I think in your case, because I noted you've not gone through the full experience, unlike the others, what do you think, if you have not experienced it, what would be the greatest challenge in dealing, in participating in this program and dealing with the creators of the idea?
Okay. So the first thing I would say for our company, actually, IP is very critical, right? Creating IP. So we've developed a platform and we intend to develop applications for the construction industry. But I heavily rely on my success to find sources of IP. Started with NUS there, but there are many other universities or agencies we could work on. So our business model is to take IP and bring it to market. So it's very important. That's the first thing. I believe that doing it in Singapore versus San Francisco, Europe, specifically in the industry I am, is interesting. Although it's challenging, it turns out that if you look at construction engineering, there's a lot of stuff going on in Asia. There's a lot of actually research done in Singapore. So I see an opportunity. Now, coming back to your question, the challenge is I think there's a lack of experience in doing this. You know, in the US, for instance, people are just used to this. They used to do it. They used to fail and start again. So I think it's you can talk about.
Is that your challenge, or I'm asking you about?
That's my challenge. Yeah, that's what I experience. So dealing with junior people and lack of experience of able to come up with pricing and stuff. I think it's a general issue, and yeah, that's a challenge.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
There were issues, for instance, on you license something, but there may be extra development, right? So there were really questions on, so who's going to own this? Is it joint IP? What is IP owned by the company? What is IP which is going to continue to be owned by NUS? There was a lot of questions on this. Okay, we came up to a certain agreement. I think the questions came from a lack, different expectations again between a researcher who thinks that his idea is almost there, and the company who says, well, you have an idea, but I'm going to have to put 95% of the money to get it done, right? So it's always this, but I think it's the same everywhere. But that's the challenge I faced.
So the terms you think are fine? The terms
they're fine. If not, I will not sign them. So I've signed them, and future will tell whether it was a good deal.
Yeah. Okay. My experience in terms of the terms and licensing actually is quite so-called iterative. You don't expect one round of negotiation and then that's it. Yeah. You need to go back ding dong a few times before you sign on the dot. But my advice is do your own market intelligence. All right. Because honestly, the RIs also as blur as you. Honestly, because from my experience is that they also are figuring out, hey, what's out there in the market, who am I competing with, So we as a SME, we know our competitors. So sometimes it's good that knowing our competitors, we can benchmark on them and then use it as a yardstick to negotiate with the RIs. I think this part is quite important. Yeah, and then the ding dong part also must bear in mind. Yeah, all right, thank you.
Okay, so that's a useful tip for those of you considering the other side as blur as you.
Yeah, that is also one of our challenge. We are all equally blur, Actually, I think negotiation of terms and conditions, I think we are looking forward to both party wins and no one should lose out. And I think the institutes are doing fair things to us, so I think that's fine. I just want to tell you that my challenge is that we also need government grants to help us to integrate and evaluate this kind of technology, because we need to put in manpower and all these other things. So I hope Mike can look into such grants. Mike has told me we can use PIC grants or whatever, but I don't think so we can do that. Actually, I mentioned to you that I come to this program by accident. Actually, I'm supposed to be on another program by Mr. Perry, and that is the cloud computing enablement. So, and from there, I asked, and they helped me into this TEP. And but I'm running this TEP program with my own resources to get it working, and I hope that it's good for both parties. So I hope that to encourage all of us to use this, we must have a grant. So Mike, please look into that.
Okay, I share my experience. The thing is that I think it's a lot of the people you're working with. You're working with people who are we call administrators, okay, and they have their, we call the policies, policies that they say, hey, I do this thing this way. So, but the problem we have, I mean, is that I don't have much issue with the technologies. I must say the technology is there. We evaluate and work very closely with researcher. But I think I face most of the problem is actually with the administrator. And the first thing they tell me is that, the first meeting, they say, I'm here to protect the IP of the research institute. So I'm here to maximize profit. So it set the tone. So I think that's the things that you see is that I understand, different people got different KPI when working in the large institutions. And the challenges I see is that the researcher may be very keen, but then the administrator is, I'm here to try to milk you. Sometimes they set that kind of tone. So the thing is, I think in any negotiation, I would go to any business deal, I buy anything from a supplier, or I go to customers, that I think you need to have two things. You need to have choice. Because when you have choice, right, then you don't really depend too much on one party. So in terms of, that's why I say it's good to go through, don't just go and search. Get TP to find a few other alternative technologies and you can compare, and that give you a good idea what is a good terms. And there are things, I think the thing with working with administrators is they always say, oh, these are my policies, I've done this before, so I cannot change because this is my term. I think that's something of a stumbling block because, I'm in sales line, so the thing is that every deal is different. I always tell the administrator, there are deals where the first thing they ask upfront, okay, they may be upfront, so how much is good? 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. To me, I say it's not the amount. Because if your deal can make me $1 million, then 10% I'm willing to pay. You see, that's the thing I say. But the thing is that no one knows very clear how much you can do. So the thing I say is that I always say is that I always tell them, can you be flexible? You do this term for the first few deals, then after we come back. We also want you to make money. But the thing is that if you give too high a stumbling block, we cannot move. Then our loss. Because I have experience. I mean that one area is that they are taking so long to think. And because the reason is that, you see, when you get through the lawyers, right, wow, this is where you change one word, take 1 week, ding dong, ding dong. That actually lose the opportunity and you actually lose the customers. Because a lot, when we do this evaluation, we actually involve our customers. So that gives you a real perspective. You're not really evaluating. So our customers say they wanted to buy, but then realize that, well, if time is not on your side, right, then you lose out in the negotiation.
Okay, actually, we are all human beings. All need to be motivated. So actually, I want to share with all of you this motivation with my managers in I2R, Dr. Travis, okay? Because we are all very positive-minded, and we know that the scientists are interested in their researchers' results is being used in the commercial field, and he's so happy to hear that how I can use his solutions, and I give him real examples. He's very, very excited, so he's very motivated. And Dr. Travis actually moved forward with all the web services that he get it to done, and he's hoping that with this example he can motivate his colleagues in the I2R to make it into version 2, version 3 in the future. So how to make it happen is had to depend on myself. I'm the one who will receive it, and I have to make money, and I give the money back to them, and then they can be motivated. So actually, it's everybody must work as a team to make it happen.
Okay, sound advice? Please, quick one.
I think the journey is not so easy. So the important is enjoy the journey and stay curious. Because when you're curious, you will ask and you'll find out more, and you'll get very good technologies. Thank you.
Stay curious. Stay hungry.
For me, 2 words. Think positive.
Positive thinkers. Okay, Dennis, last word.
It's okay to fail. Have fun.